Hey guys, my name is Cecilia and I'll be one of your hosts.
Hi, I'm Alec. I'm the other host. This is the podcast. Welcome back.
Yeah, so just checking in. Well, first, I'd like to point out to viewers, listeners, readers, Alex's bookshelf that is behind her, color coded.
Thank you.
Incredible.
Thank you. My husband built these, and Cecilia, obviously, because I texted you the other day, I was so excited to color coordinate them. And at the beginning, I came in and I was so ready to rock and roll. And by the end of it, I was like, I'm so frustrated. But they look beautiful. I'm very happy with them. Thank you for your compliments. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it looks awesome. And yeah, the color coding. You start out with such fierce motivation, and then halfway through, you're like, is this yellow or green?
Yes, it's true. And I love your bookshelf in your office. I know it's right around the corner over there, and yours are color coordinated. And on some episodes, I've been able to see them, and they're so cute. And I was like, I have to try and do this. And it's much harder than it looks.
They're kind of a mess right now, but there they are.
I love them. I love them. They're beautiful.
Yeah, I need to get a cuter background for sure. Because as listeners are sharing stuff, I did not realize that we are on people's televisions. like
in 4K.
Flat screen in 4K. You can probably see my pimples are just on your widescreen right now.
My dandruff is dandruffing. It's on the big screen, and it's not like, oh, I'm just watching on my laptop. They have like HDMI to the TV. YouTube's pulled up, and I'm trying to be. I have to be glam now. I have to do full glam.
I know. I love it. I was just like, okay, now I have to get a really cute backdrop and at least cover my pimples. But we thought about bringing back something I read this week. If you've been here since early on, we did this segment in the first few episodes where we would read just anything that we had read that week, whether it was like an excerpt from a book or, Pinterest, something on social media. I don't know. Do people get newspapers? The newspaper? If you get a newspaper, we don't, but
me. I'm the Four Seasons Orlando baby. Me.
We've gotten away from it, but we're going to try to bring it back this week. So I found this thing, and I think it was on TikTok. It's a screenshot on my phone, but I think it's on TikTok. And it says, in another world, my mother does not become a mother. She doesn't meet my dad, or at the very least, she never falls in love with him. Instead, she goes to college, pursues her dreams, travels the world in her free time, taking photos in France and trying new food in Tokyo. She never has to wonder about the what ifs in life because she is too busy living it. In another world, she finally chooses what's best for her and not others. In another world, I do not exist, but my mother gets to live, not just survive. And this is why we got rid of this segment. We just made everyone cry.
Yeah, it was like not happy vibes.
Why do we have good vibes? And it just like broke my heart in two ways. One, for, my mom, I've talked a little bit about on the podcast, but I think it just broke my heart for her because I do think that she had so many other aspirations. And, when we become moms, we talk about it a little bit in the episode today, actually, but no one tells you the mental toll that it's going to take on you and how so much of your mental peace that you didn't even know you had is just ripped from you forever. Like as soon as you have a baby. And it's like you just have a baby and they send you home. And you don't realize that for the rest of your life, you're going to be tossing and turning and always worrying and wondering if you're doing the right thing, if you're causing harm. There's mom guilt, but just suddenly like the mental impact of having a child is so tough. And then on the other end, I read it and I just hope that my child, when I found out I was pregnant, it was in a scenario that I knew I was going to be a single mom. And just like TMI, but as soon as I saw the positive on the stick, I never had any other hesitation, or I was just excited. I was just excited to meet my baby, and I was just excited to be a mom, and I couldn't wait. And gosh, I just read this and was like, I hope my child never reads something like this and thinks that I thought there was anything better out there for me. Um, and I'm so proud to be his mom. And I'm so glad. I would give up any tour of Tokyo or France or any other life that I could have lived. I would give it up in a heartbeat. And I knew that from the moment I saw that positive test, even knowing that my pregnancy was coming in not ideal circumstances. I never wavered from wanting to be a mom as soon as I saw that. And so, gosh, this reading just like brought up so much this week. And I just want any other mom out there to know that, you know, if you wish for a different life, there's nothing wrong with that or wrong with you, because it is hard. It's so hard to realize how much of yourself and your identity and your life is going to be impacted, and things you didn't even think about, and now you will never get that back. And I just want, you know, people to not feel alone if they're feeling that way, and to know that that's okay. And then also that we can still celebrate the joys of motherhood and how incredible it is to be lucky enough to be called mom. And that was something I read this week.
That was oh my god, I'm gonna like sob. Sometimes people are like, being a mom, it's your whole personality. It's not just who you are. But I think it's such a beautiful part of your personality. It's one of my favorite things about you.
Oh, you too. I think it's really cool when you can be friends with someone and then you get to see them be a mom. Oh.
Hey guys.
We are the worst. We got rid of this because we like couldn't stop crying, and now we're like, guys, by the way, we're gonna bring it back and we're gonna do it better this time. And then we bawl the whole way through it.
Can I tell you, I used to be that person that would get on TikTok and it would be like an influencer cry. I'm never gonna cry on the internet. You couldn't pay me to cry on the internet. I have cried almost every episode.
Here we are, unpaid from this and crying on the internet. And some of those influencers are probably paid to cry on the internet. We're actually not paid, and we're just crying on the internet.
No,
we're all of you, and in HD now. So
yeah, on your TVs. So let me just, you know,
someone's husband is walking behind the couch across from them while their wife just watches two women bawl on screen about being a mom.
But it's I love the segment. Even though it is stuff that usually makes us cry, I feel like it's always been something that's been especially poignant.
Yeah, me too.
Say that word? Poignant?
I don't know, but I love crying on the internet.
Yeah, it's fine. Everybody does it. I actually, to just divert from the sad girl vibes, from the touching girl heartfelt vibes for a minute, I have a question for you.
Okay.
What order do you get ready? And I mean in the sense of three things: hair, makeup, outfit.
Hair, outfit, makeup. I do my makeup in the car usually because I'm running so late. Like, as long as everything else is ready, I can always do my makeup in the car, which that's for true. Legal reasons, that was a lie.
For legal reasons, I'm the passenger. I makeup, hair, outfit.
What? Wait, is your hair wet when you do your makeup?
Sometimes. It depends on what I'm doing, but I like to do my makeup first. I want my hair out of my face, then my hair, and then I'll put on an outfit. Because if I put on an outfit first without my hair and makeup done, I'll be too ugly.
Yeah, no, I hate that's true. Because I put an outfit on and I cycle through several outfits and decide I'm too ugly, but I decide whichever outfit has the most potential, and then I lay that one out.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense too.
What do you think it says about you?
That's a great question.
Like, what does your getting ready order say about you?
I don't think there's any right or wrong way to do it, but I do think that every woman has a certain order that they go in.
Yeah. People should send us their getting ready orders.
Yeah, what that means I want to know. Them. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys again. We're so grateful to everyone listening this week, to everyone putting my adult acne on your HD screen. I could not be more thankful. But really, you reaching out, letting us know you love the books, love the episodes, thoughts on the guests, everything like that is just, it makes our day. I look forward to Wednesdays so much. So I've gotten really good feedback on our open book episodes so far. And we decided to bring you another one in between episodes. So that's who we're meeting today, Danielle Wadding. Danielle is someone who is just so warm. You know, Alex and I loved our conversation with her. She is incredible. She talks about in this episode, so we'll give some trigger warnings, but in this episode, she takes us through a really difficult year in her life where she lost her husband, her mom, and her child all in the same year. The initial story that she tells focuses around that loss and how difficult that was. You know, I think when people hear that initially, and she has said it herself, the first thing that you think about is, how does someone get over that? How does someone move on? And that is what really the focus of her message is: the initial grief and loss that she went through, and then how she got to where she is today, to where people meet her and just immediately are captivated by this like warm, sunny disposition that pulls you in. She's so easy to talk to, and you would never think that she carried something so heavy. Um, so today's episode, whether you have experienced grief or not, I think is just a great listen because of how motivated Danielle is to help other people realize just how much their mindset matters when you're going through anything in life, and how she was able to shift hers and be able to show up today as the woman that she is, and the mother and the friend and the career woman and everything that she is today because of her mindset. And she talks about some tools in therapy and exercise and other things that she uses to help her get through.
Yeah, and you probably, I think everybody will be surprised at least a little bit by how funny she is, because when you hear all of those things, you go, man, that's awful. And, you know, your heart just breaks. You know, you can't comprehend any of it, right? And she had us laughing. I mean, really, really, she is so funny. She is such a light. And I think that a lot of people will really, really enjoy getting to hear her perspective. And I really appreciate that she took the time to share it with us.
Yeah, we cannot wait for you to meet Danielle with us. To know her is to love her, because she is just, like Alex said, she's such a light. So
Yeah.
we're excited to get into her open book today. Today's episode is titled Open Book Mindset.
To the readers who look up
For
at the
all the
stars
underdogs
and
who don't let fear stop them from fighting.
Dedicated to those without a
That they may
diagnosis.
experience at secondhand
For Mom,
the
because you
delights
said I could write a book
and dangers
instead of getting a
of
summer
adventure.
job. I love you.
For every girl who has ever felt
For every
powerless.
Nesta out there,
To
climb the
12-year-old,
mountain, and for Josh,
17-year-old,
Taryn, and Annie,
21-year-old,
who are the reason I keep
and
climbing my
30-year-old
own.
me, you were never the disaster you thought
For those
you
I
were.
love,
For anyone
all
who
never
has
got
ever
the chance
fallen
to
from
see
the
this
sky
happen.
of their life, these words are for you.
Do we want to get into our open book today? Danielle Wadding.
That's instinctually what I just wanted to do.
Welcome, Danielle. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were just kind of talking offline a little bit. I have met Danielle one time, and that one time was so impactful to me that I was like, she needs to be. I texted you, Alexandra. I was like, I have the most perfect guest.
That is so crazy because I remember that, but seeing you two interact, I would have thought that you guys have known each other forever.
Yeah.
I think that's your vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really feel like you really pull people in.
I love other people's stories. Like figuring out, I think that it's a huge reason why people are so out of touch with each other, because we're not humanizing one another. But when you get to know somebody's story, it's like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just humanizes people. And I think that when you, and everybody likes to talk about themselves a little bit, not like self-centered way, but everybody likes to see that others are interested in them.
Of course.
So when you ask somebody their a question about where they came from or whatever, small or big, long or short, I mean, they'll open up quickly, and then that gives them an opportunity to let their guard down and be who they are. And there are very few opportunities, I think, anymore for people to really feel that they can be who they actually are and feel safe and comfortable being that way, which is sad. I am very not good. Like, if the weather comes up in a conversation, I'm like,
checked out.
Oh, this is going to be a really difficult conversation.
Yeah, this is going to be tough to get through.
I want to know the nitty gritty, the deep stuff.
Yeah, I want to know the last time you cussed out your cousin and why, and then I want to know whose side I'm on. That's what, let's get
Full
to that.
details. Don't make the long story short. Make the short story very long. That's how I feel.
I think only females do that, though. Men don't do that.
I know.
Like, a man will say, like, oh, yeah, well, I with the kids, it was just frustrating this morning, talking to a friend or a brother or whatever. But a woman is like, and what did she say after that?
Yeah, and then what was it?
Was she making eye contact with you?
Yeah, and when you try to get the goss from a man, you're like, why didn't you think to these details that are...
They're necessary.
And they're like, I didn't think it was important. I don't know. I just, that's what they told me.
God, what happened?
Like, and this is why there should only be females that are interrogators.
Yeah.
Because we can get there faster.
Yeah. Men are like, okay, he says he didn't do it. He says he didn't do it. Let the guy go.
And that's why Jeffrey Dahmer was allowed to kill so many people.
Probably.
Was a female police officer, he'd have been locked up.
Yeah, that scene makes me irate because and
the first one where he had the trash bags in the trunk.
He's in front of you doing it. Oh my God.
And also, that police officer had to have been a mouth breather. Because a dead body, I mean, I've never smelt a dead body.
Just clarification.
But, like, there's no way it doesn't smell.
Right.
Unless it's, like, properly concealed.
Right.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. I couldn't be a detective. I could be a detective now that I'm 30 because I'm less of a people pleaser. But you couldn't ask me to interrogate someone in my 20s. I'd be like, listen, like, don't be mad. They're literally telling me to ask you these questions. So, like, don't. Like, we're cool, right? We're cool. Okay.
You're about to go away for life, but you're not mad at me, right?
Right. I just, like, I feel like my part was little, and so I just want us to be, like, cool about that.
You got caught.
Yeah.
Right.
I have nothing to do with this. I'm just getting paid.
Speaking of women getting to the bottom of things.
Yes.
But as far as, like, unpacking your story and telling your story and connecting with people out there, kind of the floor is yours. Where do you want to start?
So I gave a lot of thought into what I wanted to talk about today because I feel like there's a lot of things that I could talk about, but like what makes me unique or special, and my life experience that makes me special is, I call it the year of death. But back in, I guess I'll just like go right into it. So back in 2008, I was married and I was pregnant with my third child. And I already had my oldest son, Aiden, and my daughter, Layla. And my husband overdosed and passed away. Like 2 weeks after. It was actually 14 days after I found out that I was pregnant again. And that was in November. So I had to move back home because I didn't have a job. And I had 2 kids, and I was now all of a sudden a single mom, and didn't know where I was going to get my next meal from because I didn't have a job. So my parents graciously let me move in with them. That was like a really rough, I cried a lot. That whole pregnancy from November 30th on until I had him in July, I just couldn't stop crying all the time because I couldn't fathom how I could be so young and already be a widow. And now, again, with hindsight, I see that I was stuck in this like, poor me. I'm a victim, which I was a victim, but you can't move on and start to grow and move on to a better life if you're still thinking that there's nothing that you can do. So anyway, fast forward 6 months go by. July, I had July 1st, my mom was supposed to be in the room with me because my husband was deceased. So then my mom was supposed to be in there for my planned C-section because it would be my third C-section of, ripping my soul out like we talked about earlier.
The C-section life.
Yeah, struggle. And my mom passed away from a blood clot on July 1st, 2 days before I was supposed to go in for my scheduled C-section. It felt like a dream, like a nightmare, really. It felt like a nightmare. Like, no. My mom can't be dead because my husband died. So there's no way she can be dead. No, like I couldn't compute because she's supposed to be here with me in 2 days. Like, no. Because my dad had said to me, well, I need you to come in and sit down. And he sent my son. I didn't have my daughter with me, but he sent my son when we got to the hospital. He sent my son with a stranger to go get popsicles. And I was like, what the heck? What? Like, that's weird. Like, why are you sending my small child with a complete stranger? And he said, well, I'm so sorry your mom is gone. I was like, where'd she go? You just called me like 30 minutes ago and said that she was at the hospital. Where did she go? So my brain like wouldn't let me accept that fact. So, I postponed my C-section so that we can, so that I can go to her funeral because I was not going to not miss, I wasn't going to miss my mother's funeral. So I had my son, Andrew, he was so beautiful, July 9th, on August 13th, passed away in his sleep. From SIDS. So again, the brain does crazy things to protect itself. Like, no, he's not dead because mom just died. He can't be dead because mom just died. And you can't lose three people like that close together. There's no way that happened. There's no way they're gonna save him. They're gonna resuscitate him. You realize that a person is the glue. But then when the glue really isn't there anymore, you feel it. You feel that everything falls apart. So he got us through that first initial intense 5 weeks of like, fuck no. This like beautiful, wonderful being that didn't think that anyone loved her and that had over 600 people at her funeral. I think it was either 400 or 600 people, standing room only, in the building. Like, such a beautiful bright light is gone and now there's nothing but darkness, but we have this beautiful, beautiful little being. Like, it represented like with an end of life, there is life that becomes. And I called my aunt, my mother's sister, and she came and she told me, just pray because, God can do stranger things and he doesn't give you anything that you can't handle. So I just prayed the whole way to the hospital. So when the doctor came in and told me that they couldn't save him, it was then also a crisis of faith because it was like, what? But I prayed. I did everything that I was supposed to do. Like, how? No. And I don't know how to say this segment and give details about how deeply disturbing and painful and lost without going into detail about that and then going into detail about how I got out of it. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, well, I think that explains it perfectly because like, how do you put any of that loss in words? People who have experienced that. So actually, one of the things Paige said was there are people who have experienced grief and then there are people who have not. And that's two types of people in this world. Yeah. And sometimes on this microphone and in these speakers, you're not going to always reach both people.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no way for you to say it wrong for the people who it needs to hit home to, because there are women, mothers, fathers, people, daughters, sons on the other side of this speaker that just heard everything you said and know and have been in the trenches of that loss. And then there are people who have not experienced that loss but can hear. If somebody doesn't want to hear it, like, it's really on them to dig deep in their own empathy and hear your story and hear your words. And
it's just another reason for me to get in my head about having a higher expectation. Like, I should be something. Right. I should have done that better.
You're like, I should have delivered. I should have delivered my own story that happened to me better. And that's how we get in our own heads, because there's no wrong way to deliver your own. It's yours. And the way that you communicate it is exactly as it's supposed to be communicated.
Against all odds, after my ex-husband died, and then once my mom died and Andrew died, it gave every reason for me to run, to try and heal with outside things. Mm-hmm. When the answer was in me the whole time, but I just, after all of that, I didn't know what else to do, so I thought wine was acceptable. Mm-hmm. Just go to the beer store. And Damascus was at the time a dry county, or a dry town. So, which is funny because, like, you drive 8 minutes down Route 27 and there's a beer store. It's like right outside of Damascus. And it's like, okay, like, it's a dry town. Yeah. But I don't remember how the milliliters of the wine, but I would get Barefoot, the big ones of Barefoot. And buckets. I would have one a day. Yeah. Because I just didn't understand how I was supposed to survive. Like, the day that Andrew died, it was like, okay, I'm going to choose to be happy today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to music, and I'm going to clean, and I'm going to dance around with Aiden and Layla, and we're just going to have so much fun because I'm choosing joy and not sadness today. And Andrew was napping. So when I went to go check on him, and I knew before I even got to the second set of stairs, I knew it. So, like, the one day that I chose to be joyful,
it felt like a punishment.
Yeah.
So you dealt with that by
just drinking. Yeah. Because it was the only way that I could find laughter. Yeah. It was so numbing that there was I was able to drink the bad stuff to, like, the soles of my feet. And then all of the good things just bubbled up, and I was able to feel like this illusion that everything was fine. Mm-hmm. And that becomes addicting. That feeling. Yeah, I don't have to feel it. Yeah, like, wow, I've cracked the code. I found the answer.
Yep, I know how to laugh again.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So my dad had a very difficult conversation with me and said that, I know you've been through the ringer, but being an alcoholic is not a job, and your kids don't know what's going on. People just keep disappearing. So you have to make a choice. Like, get a job, go back to school, do something, but they need you. And if you're not going to take care of them, then I will take them, and I will take care of them. And that freaked me out. So I decided to go to hair school on a whim, and then it all kind of was an upswing from there. One thing that was really, really cool too about when I decided to go to cosmetology school is when living children are in the house and a child dies, CPS has to open a case. And my only understanding of CPS was that they were the enemy, and they're like there to take kids from homes that, so I was very irritated and upset. Like, what did you think? I murdered my kid? Like, what in the world? But they were amazing. They sent gifts during the holiday times for the kids. They came once a week, and it was like a therapy session that they helped the kids and checked in with me. We set goals. they helped me reach my goals of going to cosmetology school, even helping me fill out my student loan information, my paperwork. Like, those women were sent from above for sure. And I don't know what the percentage is for them, for the families that actually have a success story instead of it, okay, we're going to close the case. And then 2 months later, they're right back with the same family in the same scenario. But I like to think that, I'm one of the success stories that they can hold on to when they're having bad days, because I genuinely don't think, without my father having that conversation with me and without them helping me, because I really needed someone to not only hold my hand, but like hold me up and walk with me, because it was too much. It was too much. And once I got into that, like leveled up onto at least like a strong, I feel like my foundation was sand and rocks. And I was like in a 30-pound rucksack trying to climb the top of Mount Everest. Like, I needed someone to like drag me. I needed that to drag me up into a solid foundation. One of the things when people hear my year of death story, and they're normally people that have already gotten to know me at least a little bit, and I have a very sunny disposition, and I choose to see like the good and the positive, and I try my hardest to see the good and the positive. They're astonished, like, how are you this way? Mm-hmm. And really, it just only comes down to shifting your mindset. Like, it's accountability. Like, no, I didn't kill my ex-husband. No, I didn't kill my mother. I didn't have a part in any of their deaths. I didn't have a part in Andrew's death either. Mm-hmm. It just was time and unforeseen occurrence. It just happened. And I still can choose something different. Yes, it sucked, but I still have to live. I still have to be a mom. I still have to make money. I still have to find joy and purpose in my life beyond that. I wasn't born with some sort of superpower or special ability. It's about mindset. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to staying in that victimhood. Mm-hmm. If you constantly are like, that's really, because you need someone to feel, oh my gosh, you poor thing. But it's so much better to climb out and use it to push you forward. Then when someone hears your story, that they're like, oh my gosh, instead of pity, it's like, wow, show me how you did that. Yeah. Tell me how you did that. Then all of those things that I had nothing to do with, as far as like it just happened to me, are a tool for good. Mm-hmm. Not only for me, but for other people that hear it. Mm-hmm. That's important. And that's important to me. And it's important that my kids see that even given shitty cards, you can still turn it into diamonds.
You can really tell when meeting you and talking to you, this like warmth that just radiates off of you. And I think that's such a strength in itself, because you've had every reason in the world to be hardened and to turn cold. Mm-hmm. And you're just not. That's just not what you give off. So what would you mindset, what other things, kind of how did you get there that you were like, you know what, I'm not going to feel this way. I'm not going to let this define me. I want to be a warm, open person still, despite, and here's how I'm going to do it.
So I kept, like, after I went to cosmetology school and I was, behind the chair and hustling and doing whatever I had to do to pay the bills. Mm-hmm. My life still wasn't where I wanted it to be. And I didn't understand, like, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'm getting up early and I'm like kicking ass as a mom, as a single mom. And I'm not crying every day anymore. And I'm working, and now I'm out on my own, and I'm still not happy. Like, what in the world? I'm doing all the things that is on Google when you're like, how to find happiness, it still wasn't there. And then I realized it was me. It was me the whole time. I held the key the entire time. And when you're bogged down with like bad scenario after bad scenario, you forget that you have the keys. They're in your back pocket. Like, you got to unlock something that's already in your brain. And I think that I just had been miserable still while doing everything that I knew I was supposed to be doing to be happy and to move on, that it was the only natural, like, oh, I'm trying to change everything else outside of me, but I haven't done the inner work. I haven't really gone into therapy and seen like what it actually did. You know, therapy was at the time for me was more of like a emotional vomit session for an hour where I was talking about, you know, my PTSD that was triggered when I saw a baby. And, you know, how, and then it took me back to like day 3 of after he died. So there was no forward momentum, no forward movement because I was standing in my own way. I let that boulder stand in my way. I moved it a little bit, but my mind was the piece that I needed to get in front of the boulder and use it to push me forward instead of the rock that blocked me from getting anywhere in life.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people with that, you know, what you said with that therapy mindset, I was going to therapy for a year and I finally told my therapist, I was like, what are we doing here? I haven't changed at all. And he's like, well, you haven't taken a single suggestion. Like, you just come here, trauma dump, and then go, I guess, trauma dump on the rest of your life. Like, I don't know what you're doing when you leave here because I give you the suggestion and you don't do it. You don't do the work.
That's the hard part.
Yes.
Well, it's like a half commitment.
Yeah.
You get there, you sit down, you emotional, you trauma dump, right? But like, so you're like, look at me, like I did the hard part. Well, it's only half the hard part. Like, and really, because it is hard to like dredge all those things up.
100%.
It is difficult. It's emotional and it's draining.
Yeah.
But there's the other piece, like you drain yourself so that that therapist, that counselor, that life coach, that person can fill you back up. I was like putting the lid back on, like, no. I just needed to empty. I didn't need a refill.
I don't want anything in here. It's too tough with stuff in here.
I didn't like, I wasted a lot of time in therapy doing
and
that.
Probably a lot of money. Therapy is so expensive.
Yeah.
That was my issue. I was like, I'm paying $170 and I come and I tell you the same thing. And then I come back and tell you the same thing. And I was like burning a hole in my pocket and then not doing anything.
So there's 2 types of people that pay out of pocket, or I guess 3 types of people: pay out of pocket completely, people that have like a good insurance or just insurance that pays for it, and then you have your copay, and then people that have medical assistance and find a good therapist, which is very difficult.
Very.
When you have state insurance, to find somebody that actually gives a damn, that isn't just collecting a paycheck. So that then, and I was under medical assistance at that point. So I was getting free therapy and using it as a coffee hour. So like wasting my time, wasting taxpayer dollars. Like I look back now, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, you're like, I wasn't wasting my money. I was wasting yours.
Yes! Like my bad. Exercise became a big thing for me. So therapy, correct therapy, using therapy correctly, and finding the right person.
Right.
I think I went through 4. I'm on my 4th therapist. I love Jennifer. Shout out to Jennifer. Love her so much.
Jennifer, if you're listening.
Jennifer, shout out.
I actually found her last year, and this has been the most growth that I've had in a single calendar year. Like I found my wounded inner child. I'm healing her. She's a good therapist, and she makes it difficult because therapy is supposed to be hard. Because doing something to change your life, you have to change. The patient has to change. I have to change. If I want something different, I have to do something different. And that was the missing piece from doing it the trauma dump way, and then now choosing to actually work, do the work, and to look at myself, which is painful. Because we're all a work in progress. Like, we all have to every day work towards being a better version of ourselves, which then that's where exercise comes in for me. I cannot not exercise every morning because what it does for my mental health and what I get to work through. First, for me, it was lifting weights, and now it's Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Man, permissive violence. I have never, ever loved something more. I had never found something in activity that completely quieted every demon in my head.
I know you're winning matches. Based on that statement alone, I know you are winning everyone you go into.
So, coupled with being just athletic, because it's my mom's side, I don't know. Anyway, that, and because, like you said, my mindset in that, it's addicting. So, like, okay, which can get carried away, because, like, anything in excess can be a bad thing. So I think that anything that we can do, like you were saying, like, oh, well, what got you into that? I don't really remember, besides me thinking like, oh, I'm the problem. I'm the problem. I decided it's time to turn the mirror around and look at myself, because I've looked at everybody else and I'm still not where I need to be. So let's get it together. And that is so like ugly and painful, because then all of the past like 5 years, or maybe even your whole life, when you decide to really look in the mirror, it's like, oh, I'm not as like great as I thought I was. I'm not handling things as great as I thought I was. It's not all about me. So how do I change? Where do I start? So starting somewhere is just taking one step towards that general goal. You're not going to control anything along the way. You're just taking the next step over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden you ran a marathon, you walked a marathon, like, and you're at your destination. But staying focused on the small things and doing something small, which is why I start my day with exercise. Like, it is one small thing that gets me outside of myself. I'm doing something to get all the oxygen in my brain. I'm doing something healthy for myself that is selfish, but in a great way. Because selfishness isn't always a bad thing.
No, not at all.
I mean, it's brought up like, I love being selfish because I got to do what's best for me.
Right.
I got to do what brings me joy or what brings me peace. Obviously, you don't want to be an asshole to other people while you're, that's where the bad selfish is like, don't care what it does to you. But I have to start my days that way to be the best version of myself for myself and for everybody else that's in my life, whether that's by accident or whether it's a choice to be in my life.
Yeah. I love what you said about that progress within yourself, because, as I think a lot of times we discredit our progress because we don't see it immediately. There's not that immediate gratification. But when you do start, once I started working in my recovery program and utilizing therapy, situations will start to come up that mirror situations that used to come up. And it is a moment to see how you are handling this situation and knowing how you used to handle situations like that. And you're like, that's where you see the marathon. Like, you don't see it every day, inch by inch, when you're making those little changes as you go. But suddenly, 6 months later of really putting in that work every day internally through whatever avenue you use, you're like, man, if this had happened 6 months ago, I know how I would have handled it, because I have a lifetime of proof of how terribly I would have.
I'm like, look how I emotionally regulated the shit out of myself just then. Woo! Yeah!
My Tyler just flipped out and I did not!
Yes.
To touch on what you said earlier, I actually have really changed my understanding and perception of selfishness. I carry a lot of guilt, for example, like we have the girls are at our house every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then every other weekend. And so if I like make a plan on a weekend that the kids are here, I get this like insane guilt. And Cecilia was like, well, that's not selfish. Like, you're not being selfish, because are they at home with their dad, like hanging out and fine, and you're not hurting them in any way? And I said, okay, yeah, that's right. That's logical. Checks out.
Yeah.
But that's really changed how I've thought about the word selfish.
Humans are like inherently selfish. It's just how you use that selfishness and how that comes out that's what matters. For me as a mom, there are times that I have to be selfish and put myself first so that my child will benefit, so that I show up as a better mom, because I've maybe poured into myself a little bit and taken some of that selfishness back.
Taking care of yourself too goes back to that like cliche, like put the mask on when you're on an airplane. Yes. Put the mask on yourself before you put it on your child. Like, you have to do that. You have to take care of yourself. And whatever that means is what it means.
Yeah.
Mom, I am really working right now on working on should be. I should be in this place. I should think like this. Like, should statements are so mean to us. Mm-hmm. Like, we're just pointing out something where we think we should be, or like where we want to be, but we're not. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, well, you did your best, but wasn't good enough. Like, I'm trying really hard to not say, well, I should be home. I should stay home. I shouldn't make plans when the girls are here, because I'm supposed to be spending every moment that when they're here at home with them. No, what? Why? Who said that? Who told you that?
Yeah, like, should to who? Yeah. Supposed to who? Who am I reporting
like they
to?
Say, who's they? I have a problem. I want to speak to a manager.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Where do I file a complaint?
For me, it stems from that place of like, okay, I know that these girls need someone as a woman. They deserve to have someone be there and be present for those things. So for me, I think that's where the guilt comes in, but it's been getting a lot better, I think, because I understand, like, it's crazy to think that if I go do something with like a friend, or if I'm social when they're with me, that it will change the dichotomy of their life, because it won't. Like, I know I show up in other ways that matter, but it's taken me a lot of, I think, work to get to that point.
It also is very difficult, whether it's biological children or not, to not parent yourself. Like, you want to be there for those girls because you were lacking when you were their age. And it's like, how am I supposed to parent them like they are themselves when I see so much of myself in them, and I know what I needed and didn't get, so I have to. I have to give it to them, because who else is going to? I
have revelations on this podcast every time we film. I've never thought of that. And all of the words you just said, I'm like,
oh yeah. As soon as you said that, it was like, oh yeah. Yeah, you're parenting, you're mothering yourself. That's why there's guilt attached. Mm-hmm.
I'll be discussing this more in detail with my husband as soon as he wakes up. That's my therapist.
Yeah, like there are things that Aiden and Layla, when they were younger especially, like, I parented with so much guilt because I was mom and dad for so long. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to give them all the things that I felt I didn't get. Mm-hmm. Like, all the fun and attention, and like, oh, you know, my dad worked, and now as an adult I have a different understanding, but he worked a lot as a kid. So it was super important for me to be with them a lot, because I wanted to be present. And they were also only getting one person instead of two. Like, it really is supposed to be two people in the household. it's not supposed to be so hard. It's hard, but it's not supposed to be so hard, which is why there's 2 people in the household.
Yeah.
It just makes it easier. You outnumber. When there's 2 people and there's 1 kid, you outnumber the child.
Right. And like, honestly, toddlers are like a 1-person cocktail party because they're
Yes.
12 different
Yeah.
people all in once
They're
in the
little
span of
psychopaths.
15 minutes.
They're little psychopaths.
Yeah.
Really.
And so when it was just me, people who understand what it means to be a single mom, all you have to do is say that phrase. You're just like, single mom. I don't.
Oh, girl, you want to go get some coffee?
Like, I don't ever have to walk through someone who has been a fellow single mom, what that looks like and what that means. It is so much. And then my boyfriend moved in and I was like, this is why people have multiple kids. Like, this is fun. You're so right. 2 people in the home changes it so much.
And you get to bounce it off of each other. Like, what a beautiful thing.
Oh, 100%.
To be able to go to another person. And like, my husband, I'm obsessed with him. I love him, this man. I didn't think it was possible for a human to love another human as much as I love him. I have so much admiration. I joke around with him because I like to look at him because I'm also very attracted to him. So we'll be sitting on the couch and I'm just like, he's like, I feel like you're going to eat me.
You're like, I might.
I mean, I could.
Grab me a spoon, babe.
But like, I love that we're a powerhouse together.
Yeah.
That I see things so emotionally because I'm their mom and I'm a woman. So like, I'm healing from my own shit from my childhood. So often when I'm parenting emotionally. And then Jake comes in as the opposite of being logical, still loving them just as much as I love them. And I get to see things from a different vantage point that I never would have been able to see if I was just alone with the kids.
Yeah.
Like,
and your
what
children
a blessing.
benefit from that balance.
1,000%. 1,000%. It was hard in the beginning, of course, because, it was like, woo, fun mom who was parenting off of guilt. Like, yeah, I'm the yes man.
Yeah.
To like
all of
structure.
This has gone on in your home, all this loss. And then you're like, I've got to really deliver. I've got to give you a happy childhood. I've got to really work cookies in the morning, like all this stuff. And you're like, wow, now you have that balance. Well,
so kids don't like rules. So there wasn't a ton. It was just like, look both ways before you cross the street. And don't hit each other. Like, it was like bare minimum. And then, not bare minimum, but, just, it's exhausting. It's exhausting being a single parent. So,
and like, sometimes your kids question your rules and you're like, why is that a rule? You know what? Because, my 2-year-old is in the why? And sometimes I don't have an answer. I'm like, because my mom said it to me. I don't know. Yeah. Like, I don't actually know. There's not always a.
Did your moms ever do the like, don't turn on the dome light in the car because it's illegal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Over?
She's like, I can't see. I'll wreck. I can't see.
Yeah.
You're blinding me.
I genuinely thought that I would be responsible for like the
manslaughter.
Yes.
Vehicular manslaughter.
So when I had children, it's like, I'm not gonna do those stupid things. Like, I'm gonna say, I'm that mom. I'm like, turn the dome light off. I can't see. It's illegal. I'm gonna get pulled over. Turn it. Keep your hands to yourself. Like, all the things that I didn't think I'd be, I am. But it's all relative to your experience.
Right.
I really thought before children that I was gonna be this like free spirit, like, yeah, let's just hang out, whatever.
Scared.
Like, no, oh my God, no wonder my parents were like the way they were. It gives a lot of perspective on why there were so many rules in my household. I think was a lot of fear. A lot of fear. Yeah. Like, no, stay here. Because if you're here, I can see you and you won't do anything. Which then, of course, as a teenager, you're like, well, I'm just going to just disappear.
Why don't I just go over here?
Yeah, exactly. But it's such a hard balance.
Right. Because also, we never know what's going on in anyone else's world and anyone else's life.
Or like, I'm sorry, being a parent, you're supposed to do your best. And then you don't even know if it worked. not only when they turn into adults, but until they have children and see how they deal with it.
Yeah.
It's like the way things shake out. Looking at all of the map of life, it is a shift in mindset in every single area.
Yeah.
You have to grow with life. You have to grow with time. You have to grow with age. And your mindset has to change because your life is changing. But no one tells you that. No one tells you that you have to think differently.
Yeah.
Because you're in a different place in your life. No one tells you that. Why is that not in a guidebook?
I know.
Actually.
Forget, why did somebody tell me that I had to split my laundry up by colors, but nobody told me that I actually can shift how I think about everything?
Yeah.
And maybe they did, and I just wasn't ready to hear it. You know what I mean? Maybe somebody said it, and I was just...
I'm going to go on the fact that nobody told me. I'm just going to ride on that one.
Because I refuse to know that I knew that.
I'll talk to Jennifer on Tuesday.
Right, yeah.
But yes, you're right. Probably it was communicated in some way, and it just we weren't in the right space to hear it.
Yeah, I wasn't in the right space to hear a lot of things that later seemed like such common sense. Yeah. Such like...
But that's relative to your life experience. Now, that's hindsight.
Right.
Looking back at the time, well, no, it wasn't common sense back then because you didn't have the tools yet. But seeking those tools are important. You have to seek them because no one, people talk about nothing's fair. No one ever said that life was fair. Nobody. Mm-hmm. No one ever said that. And no one ever said that it was you are going to be happy for your whole life. It's having the opportunity to pursue happiness. That's what life is about. That's where life is pursuing those things to get to a place where you're happy. You can't be in that pursuit of being happy if you're stuck saying over and over again, well, I can't be happy because XYZ happened. You can't. You can't be a victim and be happy at the same time. And that has been the biggest thing that has helped me get through all of that is it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I still hold a responsibility. It makes it harder. It makes it different. I have to shift, but I still have to live. And the goal still is to find happiness. Mm-hmm. So I got to do whatever I have to do. There's never going to be an excuse to be like, well, yeah, you can give up. You've done enough. You've done enough. You can give up. It's fine. Mm-hmm. Like, no, come on, keep going. Just keep going. And when you don't know what to do, just do what you did the day before.
Yeah. And once you start unlocking that toolbox, and then you get the emotional awareness to be like, oh my God, there's always going to be more. Like, then you have even more motivation to seek because you're like, it works. And there's so much out there that I don't know that I don't know now. And like, now I want.
What else am I capable of? I have the gift of gab.
Me too. All of our episodes, we had one that was like 2-something hours. Yeah. And then I was like, we have to cut this down because nobody listens for 2 hours.
Oh yeah. We're always like, we're just going to be here for like a little bit. We're going to be here for like an hour.
Our goal is 40 minutes. Yeah. And we've never put out a 40-minute episode.
Never. Not one. We've never put one out that's under an hour. And you're never going to stop us because guess what?
I actually don't like podcasts that are under an hour.
Oh, that's a new take.
Yeah.
I like that take.
Because I'm not learning. I listen to a podcast to learn.
Yeah.
To whether it's a skill or a perspective or whatever. And under an hour is not long enough for my brain to like really,
Yeah.
And you can't really get the essence of a person in less than an hour. So I think an hour is good.
Okay, perfect. As we wrap up today, we do have one outstanding question as far as, if you could sit down with Danielle in her 20s, what would you tell that woman? What advice would you give her?
What you're doing is your best, and your best is enough because you can't give any more. If you're giving all of it, it's okay. So don't be so mean to yourself. I think I spent a lot of time, again, feeling so guilty that I wasn't in the white picket fence, Pleasantville family, that I was really mean to myself. And it took longer to grow because I was holding my own self back. Because in actuality, I was in my early 20s when my year of death happened. And if someone would have given like a small synopsis and me as a stranger to someone else, like if I gave up, no one would have thought that that was irrational. Mm-hmm. It would have been like, yeah, I mean, I get it. Man, that's tough. It would have been less difficult to take that next step forward to get where I wanted to go if I was just kinder to myself and more patient, because I needed to acknowledge the fact that what I was going through, what I went through, was tough. I needed to acknowledge it, but not sit in it. Mm-hmm. And instead, I just talk shit to myself, about how I wasn't enough. And I was enough the whole time.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Really.
The open book concept is very vulnerable. It like unlocks, it's asking you to tell your story. And man, what a story you shared. I am just so proud to know you.
I just want to hold space for you and tell you that I am sorry for what you've been through, not in a way that I pity you, but just in a way to acknowledge that what you went through is I mean, it's horrible, right? There's no way to sugarcoat it. But what I told you earlier is I think you're really badass, and that's like the full vibe that like that is your personality to me. And like the time I've spent talking to you, I just think that you are really, really resilient, and you should be really proud of yourself. And
thank you.
When we talked earlier about like parenting yourself or what do you want to carry, I think that your kids are so lucky to have you because you have done a lot of work. And there's people that have parents that don't do the work like that. So I just think that is so awesome, and you should be so proud of yourself. And I'm very grateful for the time that you shared with us today and everything that you shared with us, because I know it was personal. And I'm so happy to get to know you. I'm so happy to work out my arms. I'm so happy to follow you on all social media if you'll have me.
Next podcast.
Next podcast. This is for Danielle and Danielle only.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo all of that. And I think that you'll reach a lot of people, and that connection is so important when someone is in the trenches like that. What kind of, if any, is your final takeaway?
Don't be a victim, because the only choice that you have when you choose to be a victim is negativity. And all you want when you're in that mindset of victimhood is to feel something good. You think you're safe there, but you're not. So do something different. Do something different. Choose to use your pain. Choose to use your grief to help others instead of feeling sorry for yourself that it happened. Because it's okay. And you'll survive it.
Thank you. You're phenomenal. I hope you feel that way every day.
Yes. Well, not every day, but we're a work in progress. That's cool.
But I'm so excited to introduce the internet to you.
Yay! Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning into Her Best Interest. We release episodes bi-weekly on Wednesdays at 5:30 a.m. You can find all of our episodes on Spotify and YouTube, as well as our website. You can find us on social media at Insta. You can find us on social media. What is up? What's the deal here? You can find us on the internet, on social media, on these places: Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We hope you love Danielle as much as we do, and we are so looking forward to next week. Our guest is Bryn Weber, and she is a van lifer that had us read Nowhere for Very Long by Brianna Madia. Bryn is so cool. We're so excited to take you through van life and take you guys on the road with us and her next week. So make sure you tune in to all the places Alex just said.
Yep. Make sure you find us there, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.